and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I'm your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me, we're doing things a little bit different. We're going to be breaking down with the 3 games on Thursday on Thanksgiving. We decided we'd cover those today and then preview the rest on Friday. Normally a day we talk injuries and look at the board and stuff, and we'll do that. We'll recap really quickly and talk about a couple of things as we look at week number 12. Some interesting lines, some interesting games. Brian Twining, how's it going?
I'm doing fantastic, other than my betting card of the weekend, which once again was crap.
Yeah.
And, it's a cold week, but, as you can see by our attire, it is the week for us. So
Yes.
nothing can put the doldrums on this anticipation.
How much does 7 drives, 7 touchdowns, 2 incompletions do to shake your confidence going into the Saturday?
Well, if our followers had access to our tweets and or our text messaging, you would know that I already laid the 6 with Ohio State. So that just kind of gives you a good indication as to the way I feel that game's going to go.
Reverse curse it. Yeah, you have a couple of defensive linemen that I'm a little bit worried about, but the last 2 weeks have made me feel really good about holding that 12-1 ticket on the outright to win a natty.
Yeah, and I mean, too, like, sticking with our NFL theme here, Ohio State has 3 NFL caliber wide receivers, which Michigan's going to have a hell of a time defending against. And CJ Stroud, for being a freshman, he could possibly be the best, like, Ohio State pro prospect if he continues to evolve within this system that they've ever had come out of this.
Yeah, the guy that we saw in like the first couple weeks, like against Akron, and then ends up sitting that week, or maybe he sat against Akron and played Kent State. I don't know. It seems like it was 5 years ago at this point. Versus the guy that I've seen the last 2 weeks it's night and day. Yeah. And obviously he's 18. He's learning the playbook. He's learning everything. He's getting, and you know what? As Taj Boyd will tell you, and as some of the other not great quarterbacks will tell you, having elite options outside makes it a lot easier on you as a quarterback. But yes, I am with you. If Stroud keeps progressing on this path, he could be the best version. And I still have faith in Fields and still think he can be fine. But yeah, the transition from Ohio State to NFL has not been fantastic for the quarterback position. Quickly, we'll recap your betting card. The Packers.
Do we have to?
Unfortunately, we do. The Packers, I thought were going to get you there. That game was ugly, and then it was fun, and then it was a bouncing around, and then ended up, the Vikings ended up finishing off, which I did not see coming. But nice work on them. Are the Vikings good? Like, are they a playoff team? Like, obviously, in a year where things can be, there's extra teams and stuff. Like, do you have faith in them?
It's hard to back a team that's led by Kirk Cousins, who, yes, he's really good, and he's probably right up there in terms of like the best performing quarterbacks in the league this year. I mean, he's only thrown 2 interceptions, but Mike Zimmer, Kirk Cousins, are we really going to trust those guys going into December and January?
I feel like
with the defense who's still getting torched on the
defense is questionable, but having Thielen and Jefferson and Dalvin Cook does not stink. I think they're good enough to make things interesting for the elite teams, but not so good where they're gonna be able.
I don't think they're Super Bowl at all. Like,
not at all. But they could be a fun round 1 team. Your parlay was or your teaser rather was killed by the Cleveland Browns, who couldn't even cover the 5.5 against Detroit. That was such a weird game. I thought they were gonna crush them, and it looked like at points they could do stuff, and then it kind of fell apart.
This is something, again, I've been saying this for a few weeks now. Baker Mayfield's hurt. Why the hell are they not just back there running the ball every effing down with
Yeah.
Dearness Johnson and Nick Chubb.
I don't.
Like they
I think it's a
continue to
weird
try to
spot,
put the
right?
ball in
Because
Mayfield's hands. I don't
Baker
get it.
Baker has his contract runs out at the end of the year. And so he's in a spot where even though he's hurt, and if he had 3-year deal, he'd probably sat at a couple games. But he needs to lock up something long term, and it really feels like it's not going to be in Cleveland.
It's irritating watching it because he is really affecting the offense, and he's stalling drives with his inaccuracy.
Well, and it's frustrating too because you see him play against good teams, and they look like, oh, this team really has the pieces to put together, and then they lay a stinker. I'm not going to even talk about my team. That was the pathetic performance. The
fact that going to your Titans real quick, the fact that they outgained the Texans by twofold and they still lost that game just shows you how poorly they played it in a ball security sense.
So they beat the Colts twice, who we think are good. They beat the Rams, who we think are good. They beat Buffalo, who we think are good. They beat Kansas City, who we think are good, and somehow managed to lose to the Jets and the fucking Texans. And we have the Texans again and Jaguars. Is this?
I told you, man, you cannot figure out 2021.
Are they going 13-4 with their 4 losses being to the Jets, the Texans, and the Jaguars? That's what
I wouldn't put it past them.
Which, when you think about a long-term picture, I don't know if I should be excited because this team is the ultimate play up to the competition, play down to the competition. Or maybe I'm just trying to convince myself that because we're going to have some tough games in the playoffs and we're going to have to step our game up. But yeah,
I will say about the Texans game, you've seen them overcome a bunch of injuries already this season, but when A.J. Brown went down in the game, I felt like Ryan Tannehill was really pressing in order to try to make perfect passes, and a lot of times quarterbacks kind of get out of rhythm and they start forcing balls when they know that they have to do a little bit more for the receivers when they don't have that guy.
Yeah,
back
they're also running screenplays for Adrian Peterson, who's 100.
Yeah,
so I don't really understand the game plan. I think they thought, oh, we'll just roll in here. We've been kicking ass. There's no way they can keep up with us. We'll be very, very mellow, very very vanilla.
But what's interesting about that, though, from the Houston perspective, is something that we've kind of talked about. When Tyrod Taylor, obviously minus the Miami performance, which was a complete abnormality from what he's normally going to put on the field. They're going to play ball security type football. They're going to run the ball a ton. They're going to try not to beat themselves, the Texans. And if you can't take advantage of their inefficiencies on offense, they're going to be in games. They're going to be in ugly games.
We made it nice and ugly, and they took advantage of it. David Montgomery, man, 58 yards. You had the over at 60.5. Did not get there. Michael Gallup, his over-under was 42.5, got 44 without CeeDee Lamb, without Amari Cooper for the whole game. Pretty wild.
That game was pitiful as a whole.
Dan Arnold goes from seeing volume and volume and volume and volume to
nothing.
Ghosting. I'm not really sure what happened there.
That's the great Urban Meyer.
With the voids and potentially more voids coming in the college game, I wonder if there is a urban, Florida's open, Texas could be open, LSU is open. There's some potential for some not only NFL.
Still got USC sitting there they're probably waiting.
Yeah, I think he wants to be on the East Coast, though. I think he wants to be LSU or Florida. I don't know, but it's truly wild. I don't know what the Jags. There's clearly a problem there. It's not a great week for you. It's been a little cold after a really hot streak. I found the magic beans this week. I sprayed the board. I threw stuff out there, and my God, Brian.
Yeah.
My God, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 2 thus far with the Giants plus 11.5.
That's a damn good
pretty good. Let's see. So I had the Jags. I really like the Jags, and that game was weird because the Niners were able to run the ball a little bit better, and they kind of made some plays, even though they didn't look like they were playing that great. The defense made some nice stops, made some key turnovers, helped them carry. So the Jags didn't cover. Dolphins -3 covered. Although I never felt good about it. And speaking of never feeling good about it, the Jets team total under 20.5. I thought that was going over 4 or 5 times. And then I didn't think it was going over. And then all of a sudden Elijah Moore is running for 60 yards into the touchdown, which put the kibosh on my Joe Flacco under 225.
Told you, man.
But I got Jimmy G under 250.5. I got Myles Gaskin over 46.5 rushing yards, and Myles Gaskin over 73.5 rushing plus receiving. I think he had 80 something yards just on the ground, so he had a nice little game there. I had AJ Dillon under 81.5 for rushing, 112.5 rushing plus receiving. So when the numbers, like, it just, when I'm looking at what like Joe Mixon had and Dalvin Cook had and all these guys, and then I see what they posted AJ Dillon, I was like, something's not right. If I lose this, I lose this, but I missed there's a golden opportunity. And speaking of the aforementioned Joe Mixon, 65.5. I didn't feel great about that one, but he got to the over. So yeah, so really, really good week. I could go 10-2 if my G-men step up, and I think they will. But obviously we're recording this before Monday Night Football. We'll see what happens. Before we jump into the 3 games, before we look at the lines, before we hopefully cobble together three teams that we like, or 3 positions that we like, to do a little Turkey Day parlay. Let's take a look at the lines for Sunday and see if there's anything you're looking to jump on now. I will say this, Brian. We kind of talked about it last week, but the Titans +6 is just stupid. Like, I already got the +6. I think it's 5.5 now.
But what happens if AJ Brown's out now too?
It's just a bad line. It's a line that's gone from the Titans as should have been like 2.5 or 3-point underdogs at most, to now being 5.5 or 6, and that's just insane. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's
could be wrong,
though, because New England's defense has been playing really good.
New England's not good. New England is not
good. It did get
good.
ugly on Thursday. The fact that they couldn't
The
run
fact
away
that the
with that game.
Falcons got within the red zone twice and couldn't put any points on the board. They go from 3rd and 1 to 2nd and 1 to 3rd and 15 to false start or holding or something, and all of a sudden they're kicking a 50-yard field goal. They missed that. Have another drive where they get in the red zone, and then they proceed to let Felipe Franks and Josh Rosen go in and have a pick party. It's a bad line. It's a bad number. I said I would take it. I could be wrong. I may look like this with egg on my face, but the Falcons I didn't believe in. In the last 2 games, they've been outscored, I think, like 80-7 or something. And I don't think the Patriots are good. I refuse to buy in. So I already bet the Titans at 6. If you can get it there, I love it. 5.5 I would take. We'll see what this number does throughout the week. Is there any numbers, any lines that jumped out to you from a value standpoint?
There is a ton of interesting matchups coming into this week, and not something that I had expected. But when you're looking at the slate here, I mean, for instance, Minnesota getting 3 going to San Francisco. Like we said, do you trust Minnesota the way that they've been playing recently? And then the 49ers, yes, they beat Jacksonville, but there's still some signs of some stuff that they could kind of hash out and get and improve on. Like, as good as the running game is, that was really Deebo Samuel breaking off huge runs. So, I mean, they really missed the speed of Elijah Mitchell last week.
Yep.
And if he's not able to play again, maybe
it was
Minnesota
nice to see Trey Sermon actually give everyone a proof of life. Like, oh, Kyle Shanahan hasn't completely locked you away in the cellar, so that's good.
He could wind up being a fantasy football league winner. Say Elijah Mitchell.
Speak it into existence. Inject it into my vein. I am so here for Trey Sermon to become something.
Pretty much every single year under Shanahan. The third guy is always the one towards the end of the season that winds up.
But he's like, I hate this guy. He's not getting work.
Yep.
I don't know.
And then like Tampa Bay is currently a 2.5-point favorite going into Indianapolis. And I know, Tampa Bay was co-Super Bowl favorite really coming into the season. But with the way that Indy has been playing,
I'm so mad at myself. That was just too many points, and I was so afraid of that Bills team and did not jump on it.
Hey, man, I was on Buffalo too, but obviously Indianapolis has something going. If they're able to establish the run against Tampa, they may have a legit shot at stealing that at home in Indy, which will be a hostile environment because that is not a place where opposing teams' fans get into. So it's difficult looking at that. Obviously, on paper, you think, oh, Tampa Bay is going to win, but that's a spot where potentially you take the money line with the Colts at home as a dog.
Yeah, you can still get 3 with FanDuel, so if you can get that, I think that's worth taking a stab at for sure. Baltimore, where was I was looking at? Oh, the Baltimore and the Browns play on Sunday night. Ravens are 4.5 point favorite, depending on where you look. Really interesting number, really interesting line. Money seems to be coming in on Cleveland initially. Not sure how I feel about that. We talked about the Browns as the team that shows up against good teams and kind of struggles against bad teams. We're not exactly sure what's going on with Lamar. He's got some sort of virus. It's not COVID, but he's sick for some reason.
And the Browns should have absolutely dump trucked Detroit. They were up big early, and they let their foot off the gas pedal, knowing that Detroit couldn't score.
Just like what Indy did last week against Jacksonville, where they had a solid lead. They were dominating. Jonathan Taylor was running all over them, and then they just completely changed the game plan and let other players get some work. And I don't know, it was weird. Speaking of Buffalo, bouncing back after that loss, 4.5 point favorites. I guess we'll talk about that on Thursday night. Let's not jump into that one. I want to make sure we preview that one as we go. Any other lines that are compelling right now? What are we doing with Pittsburgh? That game last night was insane because it looked like it was going to be a boring kind of cruise to the finish. Steelers were going to get blown out, and all of a sudden the game flipped on its head. Both quarterbacks are chucking it all over the yard.
That was a lot of short fields for Pittsburgh, though. Yeah. So I do think that the score wasn't quite indicative of what the game actually reflected in terms of the performance on the field. I mean, most teams in the NFL, if you get the ball inside the 20 to start your drive, are going to put points on the board, and that's what they did. They just happened to score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Cincinnati played really good yesterday against the Raiders. I find it difficult to lay a full field goal in an AFC North divisional game, but Pittsburgh's defense is not the Pittsburgh defense that we kind of remember. They're very susceptible to getting beat through the air. I mean, we saw yesterday, Justin Herbert just absolutely tore them to shreds, and Cincinnati, that's what they really want to do out there. So I lean laying the points with the Bengals. It's hard to trust the Steelers throwing 5-yard passes the entire game to be able to score enough against them.
Yep, and the Monday night's the only other game I want to hit on because I think the Seahawks might be just done. They look so bad.
Yeah, they're
and offensively, defensively, Russell. So here's what I saw this floating around. And I thought it was interesting. Russell Wilson as the new quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in 2022.
Dude, imagine if you gave that guy any elite quarterback, it gets a running game like that.
Yeah. And then they maybe sign a receiver to go opposite Landry and Higgins.
Think about it. They could go out and sign a Michael Gallup or a Mike Williams. They're both free agents. They could be that big body guy on the outside to partner them with, Donovan Peoples-Jones and Jarvis Landry out of the slot. That becomes a legit contender.
All right, let's run through the 3 games now that we've wasted about 20 minutes and talk about the stuff we like, stuff we don't like, and all that good stuff. So Detroit, 3.5 point favorites at home. They're facing off with the Chicago Bears. As you mentioned right before we pushed record, it looks like it's going to be an Andy Dalton game.
Yeah, Red Rifle.
Just can't do it. He's so bad. I think you just got to take the points at the home team, right?
Yeah, that's so funny you say that. That's exactly where I'm headed. I feel like Detroit, although they're winless, we talked about this early in the year. They go out there and they're competing in every single game. And they're finally giving DeAndre Swift the kind of touches that we wanted, I mean, from the fantasy football community. But this guy is a stud. And if they continue to work him into the offense, give him as much as he can handle, like they're gonna be in games. And I do think at home, early start, off a short week, Chicago, no Khalil Mack. This could be a spot where Detroit covers and maybe gets Matt Nagy fired.
Yeah, God, that'd be great. What do you think about this total? It's kind of interesting, 41 and a half, depending on where you look. I don't know that I love these offenses, but I think both can do enough to get to 20-ish points. I kind of like the over here.
I feel like there's enough explosive play potential, especially out of Darnell Mooney. I mean, we're seeing him get featured in the Chicago's offense, and he is he's like a tap dancer out there. I mean, this guy's got endless amounts of moves and tons of speed. I think he could burn through this Lions defense, and then the aforementioned Swift. Defenses are finding it difficult to tackle him the last couple of weeks, and I do think that they can kind of do their part and maybe score 14, 17 points at least to get this close to the total. So I'd lean the over.
Yeah, obviously at the time of recording, we still have Monday night, so there's no props out, which is unfortunate. I was hoping that even with the games, being so close, that they would figure that out, but they haven't yet. Obviously, we'll get those at Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. There could be some opportunity. Swift is really interesting. I think going back to Montgomery and his rushing prop could be interesting. Darnell Mooney, receiving yards, potentially.
Watch out for Josh Reynolds for the Lions.
Cole Kmet anytime touchdown. There could be some opportunities there. So I think jumping on Detroit and the over would be where my head's at. Let's talk about your boys. Yesterday was not great. Amari obviously missed the game. CD got banged up with a concussion. They couldn't run the ball as effectively as I kind of hoped. Although defensively, they were able to make some plays and limit what the Chiefs had been doing after looking really good a week ago. Where are you at with this team? How are you feeling? The Raiders aren't necessarily a team that I love as a huge favorite, but getting this many points, I feel like they have the offensive pieces to make this one little interesting, although they did spend a lot of time checking down to Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake and stuff yesterday, which I don't really understand. So I guess as our resident Cowboys fan, where's your head at?
I mean, part of me likes to be the send out the opposite vibes to hopefully kind of like do the reverse jinx, but I can't envision the Raiders being able to do enough against this Cowboys defense to keep up with the Cowboys offense, even without CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, because the Raiders, yes, they have the pass rushers to be able to get to Dak, but they don't have the guys at the back end of the defense that I can't trust the Raiders to do enough against this Cowboys team to stay close enough to cover this. So for me, I'm definitely leaning the Cowboys laying the 7, but I do think this is a surprise spot to actually hit the under.
Oh, I kind of like that. I also think there's a quit possibility with the Raiders. Like I think this is kind of the point. Like they start off hot, they look really good, and then they have some kind of weird, funky games in the middle, and then right about week 10, week 11, week 12 that's when the wheels fall off, and that's when they become a team that picks in the top 5, top 10.
Well, and then real quick too, the last time the Cowboys suffered a loss, they came out the next week and absolutely boat raced the Falcons. So I think this is a spot too where the Raiders are they're sinking fast, and the Cowboys really need a win to get back on track, and they could absolutely crush them.
And I think the Raiders are a lot closer to the Falcons than they are to a team like Denver, who could be super consistent. And it's Thursday night, Thanksgiving Day at home. I kind of like it. Let's talk about the final game, the nightcap. The Saints at home in the Dome, getting 4.5 versus Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Interesting spot for both teams.
Yep.
Obviously, the Saints, come home not looking great. The Bills,
they lost their best pass catcher, Adam Troutman, for 4 to 6 weeks now.
Rough stuff. Do we get Kamara back this week, you think? Or is
He
this
didn't
another
practice
marking?
today in the estimated walkthrough, so I don't see them bringing him
Yeah.
back off the short week. I just don't think
Yeah.
that he's quite ready there. And they're missing so many pieces on the offensive line too. I mean, if they maybe they get Teron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk back this week, but if those guys aren't playing, I don't see them bringing Kamara back against this defense.
Yeah. And the one thing the Saints do really well is stop the run, and they get beat with the pass. And if the Bills don't want to run, they want to throw. They
Yeah, the
want to
Bills aren't
throw.
going to run anyway, so
So this is a prime bounce back position. The Bills look really good. They remind everyone on national TV how good they can be, and absolutely crush this. Like, see, we've been playing the bounce back and forth game with New Orleans all year long.
yeah.
But that might be done. This team might not have, like, they don't have the horses to run on the way they were going. So
Well, and then two, I think this is a spot where their game plan of kind of controlling the clock by running the ball because they don't have a passing offense right now in New
yeah.
Orleans. It's not going to be effective against a team that could put up points as fast as Buffalo does.
And what about the over in this situation? 46.5. Like, I don't necessarily love it, but especially with the Saints offense.
I like
But
the under here too. Short
okay.
week, New Orleans has nothing on offense that scares you from they're dangerous perspective. So I don't think they're going to be able to contribute enough in this game to get this to the over. And their defense is good enough to keep Buffalo, near the high 20s. And then
Something like 27-13.
yeah, so I mean, you're going to need almost three scores out of New Orleans, and I don't think they're going to get there.
Yeah, and without Camaro, without Troutman, like Trevor Siemian and Callaway and Traquan aren't getting you there with Mark Ingram's dusty
Maybe we
ass.
see Taysom Hill play this week.
I don't know. Like, I'm not optimistic on that at this point. Like, I think
Yeah.
Trevor Siemian's not the problem. Like, he looked
Yeah, he looks
pretty
okay. He
solid.
actually looks decent.
Their defense giving up a 40 burger to Philadelphia was, I think, one of that and the way the Bills just kind of collapsed, I think, were two of the most shocking things, and obviously my Titans. So
No.
it was quite a week showing us we know nothing. Brian, I guess that's one thing and one thing only left. It's time to make a Turkey Day parlay. It seems like Detroit plus the 3.5 and the Cowboys -7 we're both in lockstep on those.
Yes.
Do we want to lean on that under, or do we want to just not worry about that, let the Bills crush them? Because I see a world where the Saints muck it up. The Bills kind of look like we've seen. Because, like, I'm gonna pull up their last few games, but they've not, like, the Bills. Outside of the game 2 weeks ago against the Jets, have not looked great, kind of in general. Like, let me see here.
Yeah, no, they've actually been struggling on offense too,
Mhm.
Buffalo.
So they scored 15 points against Indy. They scored 6 points against Jacksonville. They scored 26 against Miami, 31 in the loss to Tennessee. And then, way back in early October, they won 38-20 against Kansas City. So, the 45 against the Jets and the 31 against Tennessee are great, but 26, 6, and 15. Is there a world where the Saints muck it up and win it like 13-9 or something crazy? And I don't know if I could see their offense struggling that much for 2 weeks, but maybe.
Honestly, I don't think the Saints have much left in terms of
So does the
like
Saints just like
competitive
fall apart?
juices.
Yeah,
It's
I
going to
think
take the perfect game plan and execution by New Orleans to keep this game close.
okay.
I
Well,
I'm fully comfortable laying the points with Buffalo in this
all
spot,
right. Well,
even going to New Orleans.
let's do it then. Here, let me pull up the line so I can actually give everyone a payout of what this might look like. But we'll take Detroit plus the 3.5. We'll take the Cowboys -7, -105 on DraftKings Sportsbook. and Buffalo. It's 2 home teams and a road team. Like it's plus 611.
Ooh.
So $10 wins you 60. $100 wins you 600. Don't hate it. Brian and I will look at the props and stuff when those pop up and try and tweet those out as well. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Notorious KRO, at Greasy Rules 14. We'll try and hit some winners this week. We'll be back.
At least me.
We'll be back next week with the or we'll be back on Friday with the preview for the rest of the slate. Talk about our favorite bets, our props, our other stuff. I did want to look at one thing before we get out of here because there is an interesting game. While NFL typically dominates the Thursday slate, we got some games. We got, especially on Thanksgiving itself, we got the Egg Bowl, always one of my favorites, always a good one to get in. And Mississippi State right now is a 1-point favorite. I kind of like Mississippi State. Everyone's gonna run to Ole Miss and Matt Corral
Just because of the offense. Yep.
and really fun. The Lane Kiffin coaching rumors are flowing too, so there could be some opportunity where he wants to run, wants to bounce. So could be fun. Good opportunities to bet, to spend time with your family, and to eat some good food.
Absolutely get stuffed.
Absolutely looking forward to it. We'll be back on Friday, and then we'll see if the podcast resumes after Saturday when Ohio State and heads up to that team up north and puts a hurting on them. So that's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Let's hit this parlay. Let's enjoy some games on Thursday, and we'll talk to you on Friday.
Beat Ohio.